Today's episode is brought to you in full by Heartlifter International, a 501c3 dedicated to making home and family the safest, most secure place on earth. Learn how you can donate and support the podcast at heartliftcentral.com. Now, settle in for today's remarkable conversation with Janell. Wherever you find yourself today, may these words help you become stronger in every way.
A short reading from Ignite Your Soul, When Exhaustion, Isolation, and Burnout Light a Path to Flourishing, by Mindy Caliguire. Is it well with my soul? How is it that almost everywhere I go, the people connected to God are dying inside? They are dry, parched, withering, but the show must go on. The work must get done. Here's what I've discovered. We are not thinking about the soul correctly. We assume that the soul is well, as the beloved hymn confirms, because we are saved. But if that's the case, why do so many of us feel like something within us is dying? It's because there's a difference between a soul being saved and a soul being well. For people like me who grew up in the church, the only time we talk about the human soul is with reference to its eternal destiny. Souls are either lost or found, saved or unsaved, and in most contexts, once we've begun a relationship with Jesus, the soul conversation is over. Nothing more to talk about. The deal's been done. Our soul is set. As a result, we have no imagination for the well-being of the soul, no rationale for the care of the soul, no language for what the symptoms of an unwell soul might be. And because of that, millions of devoted followers of Jesus are suffering on the inside, terribly. While suffering is a part of the human condition this side of eternity, the inner devastation doesn't have to be. We can learn to keep our souls well tended in the midst of any and all circumstances. How do we know this? Consider what Jesus had to say about the soul. Matthew 16, verse 26. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? Now, the answer to this famous rhetorical question is obvious. Nothing. No one benefits from gaining the world if they forfeit their soul. I am beyond grateful and over the moon to have Mindy here with us today. I met Mindy through a little green square book, Right for the Soul, back in 1998. It was the year that I actually broke my back and transitioned with the sale of my dance studio into a whole new being. I had to come to know Janell, the being, not Janell, the dancer. So Mindy has been very, very important in my life for decades, and to have her here is a privilege and an honor. We have a teacher with us today who is going to ignite our souls. And what a more perfect way to end 2024 and begin a new year. You must order this book. I will be reading much more from it, and I'll be writing a lot more from it as well. Heartlifters, welcome Mindy to the show. Thank you so much for being here with your new book, Ignite Your Soul. Holy cow. It is a book that is right on time in my life. And I really want to be able to manage my emotions because I need this book desperately. And I am sure many other women do. Welcome, big time welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Janell. I am delighted to be with you. And it's really fun to hear this backstory.
Oh my goodness. It's a backstory. I can't tell you how many retreats I took that book too. I had it on the book table, not to sell, but say you can buy this. You need to buy this book. This is where you start. And I lived that book. I
Mm.
ate it. I digested it
Mm.
like Ezekiel. I
Mm.
just, it was something that I needed so desperately. And now, Ignite Your Soul. I sincerely think I need it even more. There's one sentence I
Mm.
wrote down. I'm jumping right in.
You go.
Page 47, and I wrote it down. You had to retrain. I'm going to write. All right, I'll read it. Retrain my brain to stop responding to the deeply ingrained force of drivenness inside me.
Mhm.
I would push toward my goal no matter what, no matter the collateral damage.
Mhm.
You had to retrain your brain, which, Mindy, honestly, neuroplasticity and the conversation around neuroplasticity would have just been sparking in the language of your book
Yeah,
at that
barely,
time.
barely. And I
Barely.
certainly had no awareness of it. It's only been
No.
the last maybe 15 years that I've become more aware of that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so now with those eyes, I can look back at what was happening to me at that time and realize that was what was happening. But I had no sense at that time but that
No.
is exactly what we now know and think of as neuroplasticity. That was exactly what was going on.
Yeah, you were involved with we know here memory consolidation. How do I do all this? Okay. So going to the very beginning of the book, since I just started a media race in the middle. The backstory, you start out in 2021. I love your writing. Of course I love it. I've loved it forever. Uh,
Oh.
in 2021, you start the book there with a wildfire.
Mhm.
But then you come back and go back to 1995. So I just would love to take that journey of
Yeah.
your soul.
Yeah.
In 2021, you're
Yeah.
teaching at a retreat.
Yeah. In 2021, I was at a house in Louisville, Colorado, which is just outside of Boulder. That's where we lived at the time.
Mm.
And we also owned some property in Boulder proper that
Okay.
I'm sitting in right now. And I could turn around and show my camera
Oh,
some
I'd love you to. Are
because
we
you'll
going to
see
see the mountains?
yeah, and you'll see the Garden of Desolation too, which I'm sure we'll be getting
Garden
to.
of Desolation. Yes.
Those trees over there
Ooh,
are all burned. But yeah, this is the view from my little office here.
Mindy, look at your view. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I walked away from the microphone.
I
But
don't care.
hopefully you
That
can
was
still
worth
hear
the
me.
view. You're just going to have to watch this video. Oh my goodness. I always say I want to live on the water, but then you show that.
I know it is. I love the water too, but I drove up just this morning and I'm like, Lord God, you have made such a beautiful world. And I can't believe we get to have this little corner of it that
I
we
know.
use for ourselves, but we also use for retreat, for
Ooh.
leaders, for safe places. Yeah, it's called Whisper Ranch and it's amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm booking a ticket.
Yes, you are. Yes, Whisper Ranch is pretty cool.
Whisper Ranch. Oh my
Yeah.
stars. Is that on your
I
site?
we tuck it behind. It's not
Tuck
it
it.
we still have a
Okay.
lot of things that are under development and yeah, I think it has its own. My husband created a whole website for it. I think it's
Oh,
whisperranch.com or .org. I don't
oh.
know which.
Well, you
Um,
were church planters. Are you still? You're just planting. That's what you do, right?
we just start things.
You just start things. I
I always
understand
said
that.
to somebody, I have a really high fertility rate. I think I give birth to something about every 2 years. And on 3 occasions, it was a child.
I feel so much better. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
But there
Yeah.
is a common thread.
I do love birthing things and I do love
Me too.
new and visions and
Mhm.
and dreams that just God just like pours into your head
Yeah.
that in many ways you have no business dreaming. There is no like version of our life that we
Right.
went from church planters in Boston barely making it
Right.
like very very unstable financially, very
Mhm.
skinny your teeth kind of thing and
Mhm.
that was fine.
You were
The
young.
Lord was in it, you know, and a lot of people who are in vocational ministry are in very similar circumstances,
Yes,
so I
ma'am.
totally get that.
Mhm.
um and I honor it. Sometimes that's where God has you. And that is where he had us for full 10 years. And my crash happened midway through those 10 years. We
Okay.
stayed. It wasn't like we
Mm.
didn't want to
Abandon the
leave that
ship.
church. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But then God has taken us on some crazy, crazy journeys since then. And so now you saw that view. Like
Oof.
this is
Reward.
Whisper Ranch. And like, how on earth? How on earth? So we bought it in January of 2020. So think about that. January of
Oh,
2020, right?
what?
We bought it in January of 2020. And then we were just doing what we could to like get going with the architects and a main house. And the whole point
So
was
you
to
built
create,
this. There was nothing on this
there was
land.
nothing on the land.
Wow.
And it had really, in a way, I think, been protected by the Lord for 50
Mhm.
years. The prior owners, like, there's no lack of people in Boulder County who would love to
Want that
figure out what to
property.
do with 26
Mhm.
acres with front range views,
What?
45 minutes from the airport. Yeah, it's nuts.
What?
It is just nuts. It just like it should not exist.
It
It
was
is my
for you.
dream. It is my dream situation. I had laid out before the Lord what
Oh,
we
I
thought was
love
needed in order to
that.
serve
Mhm.
leaders and gatherings and that kind of stuff. And this is exactly what I've never lived it this way. Above and beyond whatever we could have asked or imagined.
It's
This is
encouraging.
like I was hoping for this like thing, and here was my
Yes.
little list of things. And this is
Yes.
like, I don't
Love
know,
and beyond. Ephesians
10x,
3:20.
20x what I would have thought. There's no number of x's. It's just ridiculous.
Okay.
So in
Okay.
any case,
It's
sorry,
encouraging.
I
No,
was
I
we
tell you
were
what, I need some hope and I love it.
well, yes, we must always keep
Yes.
alert to the desires God's put in our hearts. We don't get to be demanding about them,
Mhm.
but we intercede, we pray, we say,
Okay.
God, have your way, may your kingdom
Mhm.
come, may your will be done. I'm available for your purposes. And
Okay.
I mean, you just never know where he's going to take you. That's a lot of
Don't.
this book
Yes.
is that even through some of the hardest,
Mhm.
most painful, most difficult times.
Mhm.
This was true of my story back in 95
5. Mhm.
and again in 2021 when these fires came through.
Yes. So that's where the book starts. The
Yeah.
wildfires. You're
Sorry,
teaching.
you're pulling me back
No,
here.
you're fine. You're teaching at a
So,
retreat. You have your phone cut off. Jeff just keeps kind of, I mean, because I know Mindy and Jeff. I've known you for so long. I feel like I should know you. It's just,
cracking
it's
me
so
up.
fun. This is like unbelievably full circle.
Delightful.
It's
Okay.
delightful. Yes.
It is
And you
just
aren't answering your
delightful.
phone. He's probably not
He
freaking out
is
because
freaking out because,
he was. Okay.
oh no, he was totally freaking out because he knew that there were fires in the area. I was just oblivious and in the basement of the house, but I saw the heavy wind. In fact, there's a pretty heavy wind today. There
Oh,
was heavy winds outside. And but then by the time my retreat was done, I went outside and I mean, I could show you my screen and show you pictures so I took an Instagram story of
oh,
what the winds and the skies looked like because it looked like what it looks like in California when there's big wildfires, which
yes.
I only knew from the news. I had never seen in
Mhm.
person.
Yeah.
And it just kept getting worse and worse and
It's
worse.
awful. So sad.
And I just said, Jeff, call me crazy, but I think we need to get out of here. I think we gotta like, because everybody was like, oh, you're in a suburb. The
Mm.
wildfire's over there. And of course they'll be able to stop it. But
Mhm.
where the over there was right here where I'm sitting today. It was on like
Right.
our street address here is Marshall Road, and it was called the
Oh,
Marshall Fire
wow.
because it started literally down the hill from here and
Yeah, your
burned up
trees
all
show us
kinds of
that.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want to see him again? Yeah.
No.
So I'll try to stay closer to the mic now. I could walk over there, but I'll lose you. Yeah,
Wow.
there are hundreds like that. So
Hundreds
that
like
goes
that.
all the way down the hill and back down that way and up above.
Wow.
And it's thank God there's many trees that did survive,
Mm,
but many, many were completely charred, completely
mm.
destroyed.
Wow.
And yeah, they're not so
Mm-mm.
alive anymore.
No.
And
So
so
you left? Did you leave your
yeah.
house?
Oh yeah, so up this hill are our neighbors. That is who we bought all this land with.
Okay.
They had a home up there and they were living in it at the time. And they called 911 at one point, and they were like, hey, there's all these winds and smoke. What's going on? And the 911 operator said, what's your address? And they told him, and they said, get out, leave now. Don't take anything with you. Go,
Oh,
go,
dear
go, go, go.
God.
And
Wow.
right around that time, a police officer had come up all the way up their driveway and was begging them to leave. And so they did. They put their dog, a guitar, and like a couple cell phones into their car, and they lost everything else. Thank God they left when they did, because
Oh, yeah.
the fires could have engulfed their car, because it's a bit of a
Mhm.
windy driveway to get down. And so they were just recovering from COVID, so they couldn't just go anywhere.
Oh,
And
my
so they
gosh.
called us and said, hey, can we just come over to your house? And we're like, sure, of course, come. And they had turned around, they had backed around one of these roads. I'm sorry, I'm giving you the whole detail, but they had backed around and watched their home burn.
Oh, dear God.
They went to a house or a road nearby
I mean,
and
what does
watched.
one even
What do you
do?
even, I
What do you
know.
do?
So they have
Mm.
COVID. They are watching their whole entire house burn down.
Oh, my
And they came
goodness.
over to our house, and like, what do you say to the people that are your friends?
You
They're our
cry.
neighbors.
You say nothing, right?
Well, and yes, and I'm going, guys, call me crazy, but I think we got to evacuate. And at first, everyone was like, oh, no, we're going to be fine. I was like, and eventually, I mean, maybe I made them some tea. It's like, what do you make? I made them some tea sitting in our
Mm,
kitchen. And
mm.
man, it's like you can't make small talk with people who just watch their house burn
Oh,
down.
no, 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 no. No. And you're in fear of your own. So you're having to
I
manage your own
I
fear.
thought we should just get out, and
Hmm.
that there was not much of a chance, but there might be a chance that we would have lost
Hmm.
our own home. And as it turned out, I think you would know from the book, our house was like one house away from complete destruction.
Miraculous. Yeah.
We had 1,100 homes in Boulder County that were burned in a matter of, I don't think, 15 hours.
Wow.
And it was, yeah.
So then
And
you stop, right? Then you have enough knowledge to go, well, why theirs? And why did it stop right at ours? I mean, there's just so many layers, and you
there's
talk
no
about it
answers
in
to
the
any of
Garden of
those.
Desolation and
Yeah,
grief,
there's
and
no answers
yeah,
to any
mystery,
of
mystery.
those why
Hmm.
questions. Um,
Yeah,
all we know is that we will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, right? Psalm
that's
27.
correct. Hmm.
Whether our house burns or it stands,
Hmm.
they are just now days away from moving into the newly rebuilt.
Oh, oh, I hope you have such a big celebration.
I
Oh my
know,
gosh,
I
that'll be
know.
bittersweet.
Yeah,
But think of
yeah.
all I've had two friends with house fires that have burned to the ground, and it's like, I mean, everything's just gone.
Mhm.
Like, look at all these books.
Yep,
All
yep.
the photos, all the keepsakes, all the
Her
treasures.
her
Yeah.
husband Zane and Jean are their names.
Oh, I love his
Beautiful,
name.
beautiful friends.
Mm.
And he writes music, and he had 20 years worth of songs,
Gone.
all the lyrics, all the music. I mean, whatever's in his head, he still has, but 20 years
That's
of
why I took his
music.
guitar. Mm.
Mhm. Yep. So
So
they are healing.
good.
They are seeing beauty from ashes.
Hmm.
It's truly the house that is being built now is, I mean, the
Beyond.
former one has no comparison to the one. And it sounds like is it the end of Joel that says that?
Uh-huh.
The house. Oh my gosh, I just got chills. I gotta
Yeah.
send that to
You
them.
got to send that to them. You've got to
That
get it printed
house.
out actually and get
Yes, yes,
calligraphy or
yes, yes. What a
something.
great
Yes.
idea.
Yeah,
Oh my,
yeah.
hold on. I
That's
need to write
their
that down
write that
while
down. That's a
we're
home let's house warming. Do we want to use the word warming?
talking. Ooh, no,
No.
maybe not.
No. House life-giving house.
Oh my gosh. A
Yeah,
house
get that
gift.
a house gift. Have that on their wall for sure. For
Oh
sure,
my
for
goodness.
sure. Wow.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm done writing.
Oh, no, no.
Thank you. While we're here live on
This
your
is
on
fabulous.
your podcast. So anyway, yes, that's what happened. This property was greatly on fire, and the winds were
Mm.
moving, and there wasn't as much like to burn here,
Uh-huh.
except there was one former shed that was here,
Okay.
right where I'm sitting right now.
Interesting.
And that's why the Garden of Desolation, we think, happened, because most of
Oh,
these ponderosa pine are able to take some heat, withstand some heat. The bottom will burn, but the tree is still alive. But there was so much fuel from this
oh,
former thing that it stayed and burned and burned and
oh,
burned. And that's, I think, but I'm not
uh-huh.
sure.
Sure.
Where there was more fuel, there was more damage. That's
Of
what we
course.
notice.
Well, that'll preach.
Mhm.
That'll teach on that. I mean,
Yep.
here's what you write. It's so powerful. Hold on, let me get back to it. Let's see. Well, my eyes were just on it. Well, I'll start here. Fire is a source of death, and fire is a means of life. So there you have it, right? We always hold things in both hands: sorrow, joy, grief, joy. When it comes to our souls, the fires of life can lead us to the same diverging paths. We find ourselves beyond burnout, have been exhausted longer than we can remember, feel desperately alone. The fire within can make us feel like we have nothing left, like anything alive within us has been consumed. Or we can notice the fire and choose to attend to the burning within. The flames become lanterns. You, writer, you. The charred ground becomes soil for new life. Mm. So hard to write, I bet. I don't know. But the flames become lanterns. That one sentence is just so good. And so, okay, I'm going to light some lanterns. I have so many lanterns. I love lanterns. I'm
I think
obsessed.
that's the invitation to us in the spiritual life that's always available,
Mm,
is no matter what is going on in us or around us, there is a constant invitation to attend, to pay attention.
mhm,
Where is God in this moment? What is he inviting me into? What Yeah.
mm,
I mean, there are some things that, I'm not going to say that a neighbor's house burning to the ground.
mhm.
I'm not going to say some cheesy, it was for the
Cliche.
best,
Mhm,
or the same of a family that loses a child, or
mhm,
a woman who breaks her back. I don't know the context, but these are horrific things that
mhm.
we don't run roughshod over with little chirpy Bible
No.
verses. But
Well, we used to. That's called spiritual bypassing, which I know you know. I mean, we
Mhm.
definitely used to do that. I was a
Yeah.
champ at it. And if I'm not careful, I probably would still do it,
Mhm.
because it's so deeply ingrained. It's one of your questions that you offer at the end of
Mhm.
one of the chapters. I can't remember. I think it might be chapter one. But what shaped you? Well, a great deal. I mean, the Catholic Church shaped me for, gosh, 21 years, and then charismatic, and then
Mhm.
Methodist, Presbyterian, evangelicalism. All of these things shape us. I love that you asked that question. I think that it's a great starting point, like what
Mhm.
shaped us. And so, spiritual bypassing for sure. We gave it a
Mhm.
title now. Psychological bypassing, we bypass it and just say, oh my gosh, you'll rebuild. It'll be okay. Sorry you lost 20 years of your life work. No, 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 no,
Mhm.
no.
Right.
Mindy, I mean,
Right.
okay, let's just go to this 1995 wildfire of your soul,
Mhm.
because you bring up something I've never heard of. And so I always want to inform my
Mhm.
community so that we can be learned Christ followers. And in that whole writing in that chapter, you're in the neurology office,
Mm.
you're pregnant with Jonathan. You called it functional atheism.
Oh my
What?
goodness. Yes, I know. Isn't that the
Mindy.
worst? Isn't that the worst
Well, I
thing?
mean, I
That
kind
is
of had
not
to
original with
sit
me, but
back.
yeah, I
I've
know.
never
I know.
heard it. So, what on
I
earth?
know.
How have I not
It
heard
is
of this?
not original with me. And I remember the first time I heard it, it sent a chill down my spine.
Same here. I was
I
just like,
was,
a
it was,
cult. Like,
except that I could also see myself in it as soon as I
well,
heard
I
it.
want you to help us see ourselves in it,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
certainly have already read it
Yeah.
Maybe by the time this goes live, my readers will have read it, but.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. But the functional atheism is, it is a real threat to the people of God and to the purposes of God in our day. I see this everywhere. I see it in myself. I see it in teams I've led. I see it in organizations I've been part of. And no one sets out to do this, right? So that's partly why the phrase is so jarring, is because it's so opposite what we ever would want, right?
You call me that.
Exactly. That is, it's like, wait, what?
What?
And yeah, and so the basic idea is with functional atheism is that we function, operate, live our lives, do the things as though God is not a part of it. As though God is not a factor or even the deciding factor. We function in ways that would appear to be a world without God.
Oh, Heartlifter, we are going to take a breath here. We're going to pause, and I'm dividing this up into 2 parts. So we will be closing out this 2024 with part 2. I hope from the bottom of my heart that Mindy has inspired you. She has said so many things that have caused me to take a pause. And later on in her book, I'm going to read from page 55. It's actually from, let me go back here real quick, from chapter 4, a page, a person, and a plan. Practicing attention. And I'm going to go to page 55, where Mindy talks to us about journaling. Now, I spoke earlier when I was introducing Mindy that I actually met Mindy, the writer, through a little square green book called Write for Your Soul. And it was 1998. I had broken my back. I had to sell my dance studio and move forward into a new, completely different world. But Mindy's little book, I took it with me everywhere. I told everyone about it. This was way before social media, but Mindy had a tremendous impact in my life within the practice of journaling, spiritual journaling. She writes on page 55, the page, quotes, represents the invitation to reflection, usually in the inviting blank pages of a journal. Keeping a journal will help you pay careful attention to your journey. It slows your mind down to the speed of your handwriting, giving you space to ask yourself and God the deeper questions. But honestly, who really keeps journals? Well, I do. I know I'm a writer, but you don't have to be a writer to keep a journal. With all due respect, she writes, to preteen girls with diaries about their crushes, journals offer far more depth and possibility than we often imagine. Some of the most diligent journal keepers have been explorers: Marco Polo, Lewis and Clark, the crew of the Belgica, as it sailed farther into the Antarctic than any ship had ever gone before. Scientists keep journals of their experiments and findings to track what they have learned along the way. The New England Journal of Medicine and other scientific journals publish significant research. Today, we keep pregnancy journals, scrapbooks, photo albums, even the photo book on a smartphone, as a way to mark the key moments in our lives. But what role does all this remembering, all this recording of a journey, have to do with ongoing spiritual development? What a great question. That is our question of this conversation. Like explorers, we are entering uncharted territory, the future. Here we are. We're on the threshold of another year. And because our lives really do matter, they really do, I add, because our observations and discoveries have value. I will also add they have worth and dignity. We would be wise to record our experiences, ideas, and prayers. Writing helps us examine the course of our lives, past, present, and future. Like explorers and scientists, we engage in the process of recording observations, reflecting on new understandings, and considering next steps as we face our own uncharted territory of the future. Taking time to write reflectively in a journal can also help us see the truth of our own stories in a way we cannot while we're living it. Alison Fallon, in her book, The Power of Writing It Down, says, writing helps us step outside of our stories and see them differently. It helps us reclaim our stories for ourselves again. I add, there's a beautiful realm of psychology called narrative therapy. So really, journaling is a huge part of narrative therapy, of stepping outside of our stories to give ourselves a different perspective and point of view. Mindy continues, interestingly, as an article on Kaiser Permanente's website points out, the Journal of Experimental Psychology published research that shows how writing your thoughts down can reduce intrusive thoughts about negative events and improve working memory. Even the simple act of writing something down lets your brain know you want to remember it. That's why note-taking is such an effective practice when learning something new. I want to encourage you right now at the close of part 1, that little green book I've been telling you about is now completely and totally free on Mindy's website, soulcare.com. It's called the 21-Day Jumpstart to Journaling. Reflect, connect, and build. It is so good, and I can't believe that they're offering it for free. How exciting is that? So week 1, day 1 of 21 is gratitude for yesterday. She invites us to think back on the last 24 to 48 hours. What were some significant things that happened? Jot down a few that come to mind. No long paragraphs needed. Just recall yesterday in particular. What were the significant conversations, decisions, or observations? Anything you feel grateful for? If so, write about what happened and why you are grateful. And there are about 5 lines. That's it. So 21-Day Jumpstart to Journaling on soulcare.com. Just download that PDF and get started. And I am going to meet you over, you know where, Heartlifter Central on Substack, and we are going to talk about what's inside of that beautiful guide to begin the practice of journaling. Stay tuned, Heartlifters, for part 2. It is so good. Until next time.
Thanks for listening today. Please meet Janell over at Heartlifter Central on Substack at Heartlifter Central, where we can keep this remarkable conversation going. Please share today's episode with a friend and invite them to become stronger every day. Heartlifter, always remember this: you have value, worth, and dignity.